Well, this is Ashton-under-Lyne, a town a few miles outside of Manchester. Over there is Cavendish Mill, and behind that is where the Ashton Canal finishes. It finishes as far as the towpath is concerned and enters a tunnel. And that tunnel runs underneath the road here, alongside this petrol station, and then down behind Asda. And the canal then becomes the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. Now we're going to try and pick up the beginning of the Huddersfield Narrow Canal, and we're going to follow it up and see how it goes. So I've got to find my way now around Asda and try and find out where the towpath starts again. I'm down by the petrol station now, and there's the exit of the tunnel which goes through to the Ashton Canal, and you can glimpse the canal waters here, and there's the entrance to the tunnel where it goes underneath the large Asda store. Well, that was a right hiatus. With some help from a postman, I eventually went down the right hand side of the Asda store, found a little unlikely track behind the store which meandered through some rather undesirable sort of areas, and now it's reappeared on the banks of the canal. No signposts at all, very disappointing. But anyway, we're here, we're at the start of the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. Well, we've walked just a few hundred yards along a pretty scrappy path, and we've come to the first lock. There are a lot of locks as this canal climbs up over the Pennines before it disappears into the Standedge Tunnel. The canal itself was built around 240 years ago, so we're talking real history here, real industrial history of this part of the world. And we can see here why it's called the Huddersfield Narrow Canal, only suitable for the narrow boats. Well, we're only a third of a mile in. I'm looking back the way I've just walked up, and I'm panning round to, first of all, one of these wonderful old textile mills. The area's full of them. And then looking up now to where we're going to be walking, and there's our second lock. And just to prove my point, and to save me counting further, this lock is actually numbered number 2. And in the distance we can see number 3. Well, we're almost a mile out of the town now from the start, and we're now crossing an aqueduct, a very short aqueduct, which you can see down there, a rather busy river rushing through, and the canal is up here and continuing up into the hills. Well, we're at lock 5 now, about a mile, 1.6 miles in, Stalybridge. And we've actually caught up a narrow boat which is negotiating the locks. We're just coming into the lock now. Just clip the side there a little bit. God, it must be so difficult to get these in without touching the side. Just beyond that lock we've come up into the town of Stalybridge. Just pan round, there's 2 churches there, open area, a lot brighter than most of the canal we've seen, and this is the way we're heading down past Tesco down there. We're just passing the Woden Canal Boat Society, bit of a ramshackle lot there, not particularly picturesque but probably quite interesting if you could get access to it. Cutting up some firewood for the boiler on the boat. Well, we're 3 miles into the walk now, and we've left most of the industrial buildings behind, and entered a very rural part of the canal. We're starting now to head up in towards the Pennines. We've passed lock number 8, so we've risen quite a bit. There is a bit of industrial conveyor in the distance, and no doubt we'll get to that shortly, but otherwise very beautiful rural spot. It's 3.7 miles now, and we've come to Scout Tunnel. At least that's what the board up there calls it. Tunnel length is 188 metres, 618 feet. And if we look down here, there is a path right the way through. In fact, there's someone in the distance there coming through with a torch. So here we go. Well, we've made it through the tunnel. It's very uneven underfoot, and I really should have brought a torch. Every time I do one of these tunnels, I tell myself that I must pack a head torch next time. Just panning around to show you the way we're going. Another lock there. I don't know what that is. Number 11, number 12, something like that. Let's carry on anyway. We're through the tunnel, and it wasn't too bad. Well, we're 4.4 miles in, and we've entered a little industrial area. This is Mossley, but what I really want to show you is this house up on the hill here. What a magnificent mansion that must have been. Presumably one of the mill owners. Well, at lock 14, about 5.2 miles in, you'll come to a couple of signs for cafes. One up on the wall here says the Allotment Cafe, and one over here. This is the Wood End Mill Cafe. Now, I'm here on Monday and the first one wasn't open, but I got a really warm welcome at the Wood End Mill Cafe. It's only about 200 yards off from the path here. Chap there was very friendly, made me very welcome, and if you get him talking about motorbikes at all, you could be there for a long time. Anyway, recommend the Wood End Mill Cafe. I would also add that it's at lock 14 that the canal path moves from being on the right hand side of the canal across to the left. For a large part of this canal, it follows in parallel with the River Tame. You may remember earlier that we crossed it on the aqueduct, and the Tame meanders beneath us, and you quite often get a glimpse of it as you walk along the canal path. Well, this is lock 16 at just on the 6 mile mark, and the path here has swapped back to the right hand side. Between the cafes we spoke about just now and this mark here, we've passed a couple of pubs, neither of which seem to be open although it's midday, but if you're here in the evenings they also could be good places to stop. Just coming up to the first fisherman I've seen on this walk. Well, the houses here have gardens which run right down to the canal. They're actually at a lower level than the canal, so in some sort of danger of flooding, I suspect. And right up the top there, that's one of the peaks on the Pennines. Well, at 7.5 miles you've reached a place called Greenfield, and this is a pool where boats are parked or moored up. There's a Tesco over the back there, Pennine Hills you can see, and we've just passed the Kingfisher pub, which is right on the banks of the canal and very popular. Just on the 7.5 mile mark. I don't know whether you can see this, but the canal water here is a deep reddy brown colour, very clearly tinted by some mineral, I assume. And looking back the way we came, you may be able to hear a train in the background. Well, we're just coming up to what is marked as High Street Bridge. It's quite a long one. It seems to go under the main road at quite a diagonal, so quite a length. We'll follow the track up and see if we can rejoin it the other side of the road. And that's the main road that the bridge goes under. A signpost here which tells us that Diggle and Standedge Tunnel is just 2 miles, and our path continues down here into the shady wood area, and we've switched across now to the left hand side of the canal. Well, this is at the 8 mile mark, and we're at a place called Saddleworth, and the river is alongside us again here, and there's some stepping stones to get across the river, causing great amusement to people. We'll just watch this young girl fall in. No, she's not going to make it. She's looking secure. Never mind. So, Saddleworth. Looks very pretty little place. A little further along here, there's this very high viaduct which takes the railway line over the canal. We're just walking up beside lock number 25, and immediately in front of us we can see lock 26, and then we've got these remarkable Pennine Hills in the background there. Just a beautiful spot, really lovely area. Just come up to the 9.5 mile mark. This is lock 31, and in the distance 32. And here we have quite a nice area for coffees, lunches. It's called Grandpa Greene's. If I pan my way around, the shop there at Bakes, and there's the other lock gates. So this is 9.5 miles, lock 31. This is just above lock 32. We've got 4 canal boats here. Very popular spot, a lot of people around. A green play area over here. A lot of children playing. A little further on, and there's more activity signposted here. I noticed that it's still Saddleworth, or at least Saddleworth Cookery School. We've got here Diggle Lock kitchen and pantry. We've come to the entrance to the Standedge Tunnel. Very long tunnel, over 5 kilometres long, over 3 miles. And the path now has to go up over the moor, and we're not going to be doing that today. Well, that's the end of this section of the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. We've walked from Ashton up to the entrance to the tunnel. It's been 9 3/4 miles, and it's been almost all of it a delightful walk. Over here you can see the top of Saddleworth Moor. Looks a beautiful spot. You can probably see there's a train line running close by. That's the Trans-Pennine Express, and if I walk back 2 miles the way I've come to Greenfield, I can pick that up and it will take me back into Manchester where I'm staying. As I said, the walk has been a complete delight. I would thoroughly recommend it. The first 2 miles were a little hard going with all the industrial stuff. I have to question why anyone would build an Asda supermarket over the top of a 230-year-old canal. That canal is probably one of the only assets that Ashton-under-Lyne has. It has plenty of disused brownfield sites that a supermarket could have been built on, but for some reason the planners built it on top of its historic canal. There we are. The only other point I would make is if you cycle this path, the bridges are very low. They are only about 6 foot, so if you're cycling you need to take great care, or if you're a very tall person you'll need to take care, as most of the bridges are limited to 6 foot in height. Delightful walk, certainly one I'd recommend, and certainly one I intend to do again. Till the next time.